why I stopped using my HSA for health expenses, and why you might want to do the same. Picture this. You've just set up your HSA and you're feeling pretty good about it. It's like this magic health account that lets you save pre-tax money. And boom, just like that, you can use it for medical expenses. But here's where things get tricky. What if I told you that using your HSA right now might not be the best move? Hear me out, because I'm about to explain why that might be the case. When I first started contributing to my HSA, I didn't really get what the big deal was. I thought, well, I've got this medical bill, and I have money sitting in this account that's meant for healthcare. I should just use it. But after a while, I started digging into personal finance advice, and what I found kind of blew my mind. The long-term HSA strategy that changed everything. HSAs aren't just a savings account for today. They're actually one of the most powerful retirement tools out there. Here's why. The money you put in is tax-free. It grows tax-free. And if you use it for medical expenses in retirement, it comes out tax-free. That's a trifecta of tax benefits you can't really find anywhere else. This means that letting your HSA grow for decades can give you a serious nest egg down the road. Okay, but here's the thing that makes this a little more complicated. Life happens. You get medical bills, like that one time when an emergency appendectomy left me with a $1,300 bill that I wasn't exactly prepared for. And you think, why should I pay this out of my checking account when I have this HSA money? That's a tough call, isn't it? At that moment, I was staring at my HSA balance, and it was around $1,500, which felt like a safety net. But the more I researched, the more I realized that if I paid that $1,300 out of pocket and let that $1,500 keep growing, it could mean way more money down the road. With the power of compound growth, that money could double, triple, or even more by the time I'm in my 60s. It hit me. This account isn't just for today's doctor visits. This is for future me, who might have much bigger medical expenses in retirement. Because let's be real, healthcare is expensive, and chances are I'll need that money later way more than I do now. But what if you need the money now? Look, I get it. Sometimes you just don't have an extra $1,000 sitting around, especially if you're trying to save for a big goal, like a house renovation or building an emergency fund. That's why I struggled with the idea at first too. It's tempting to use the HSA money right away, especially when medical bills pile up. But here's what I started doing instead. I pay for medical expenses out of pocket when I can, and then save the receipts. Yes, save the receipts. That's because there's this cool thing with HSAs. There's no deadline to reimburse yourself. So, 10, 20, or even 30 years from now, you can go back and use those receipts to pull money out of your HSA tax-free. Imagine being 65 and pulling out a chunk of money for expenses you paid for years ago, without paying a dime in taxes. The receipt trick. Now, about that HSA debit card they gave me. It feels super convenient to just swipe it, doesn't it? But here's the thing. If you're thinking long-term like I am now, you might want to hold off. Instead of using the card, I pay out of pocket and keep track of every medical bill. I file away all those receipts because I can use them to reimburse myself years later if I need the money. And yes, the IRS does expect you to keep receipts, especially if you're going to take money out later. So it's important to stay organized. But what if there's an emergency and you absolutely need to dip into that HSA? That's okay. It's your money after all. You should never put yourself in a bad financial spot just because you're trying to follow a strategy. If using your HSA now makes the most sense for you at this point in your life, go for it. Just know that the more you leave in there, the more it grows. The big picture. Here's what I learned. The HSA can be a powerful tool if you let it grow over time. Sure, you can use it now, but if you can swing it, paying for healthcare out of pocket and letting your HSA ride can be a game changer. In the long run, you'll have a tax-free pot of money for medical expenses during retirement, when you'll probably need it the most. At the end of the day, It's all about balance. You've got to take care of today's needs, but planning for the future, especially when it comes to healthcare, is key. If you can start thinking of your HSA as more of a retirement account and less of a rainy day fund, you might end up thanking yourself decades from now. So, next time you get a medical bill, ask yourself, can I handle this out of pocket? If you can, you might want to leave that HSA money where it is for future you. Thanks for watching. Subscribe Money Island for more new personal finance stories.